Um, Let me say that I've known Holly for 50 years.
How's that possible?
Yeah, how is that possible
Oh,
when I'm only 30? But and we've been good friends, and she is class of 78 like me. Go Evens. She
I
was
played on the basketball team.
the shortest member of the
That's
basketball team.
right. You got that.
Um, and she after Wells, she took her English major and became involved in teaching language arts in the Rochester school area for many years, and got so good at it, she began to then work training other teachers through the University of Rochester. And along the way, she picked up this interesting um, passion for show dogs. She is a breeder and a trainer and a champion shower of boxers. She's also served locally for, it's at the Genesee Valley Kennel Club.
The Albany Genesee Valley Kennel Club.
Okay, and every time we would see Holly at reunion, she'd be all in a tizzy getting ready for the last minute details of the regional show that she runs.
Mhm.
So, um, and she's going to tell us just a little bit about what all goes into that, and maybe one more thing before I let Holly start. Learning by the Lake is very committed to diversity, and inclusion and equality. So, any of you people who know somebody who's all about cats, please let me know. And we'll get them on here too.
Ah, okay.
And meanwhile, Holly, go ahead and take it away. If you guys have
Okay.
questions, send them to me in the chat, and then we will get a chance later at the end for Holly to talk to you about all that.
Sounds good. Thanks. Let me start this timer so I don't get too wordy. Because once I get going on this, as my children know, um,
Just put in
I just go.
Holly.
So I'm going to start to share my screen. That's the one I want. Beautiful. Um, okay. Let's hope it works. Okay. All right. Um, um, put a thumbs up in the chat if you can hear me. Just do one of these for me. And that you can see. And Fran is going to be monitoring the chat. So if there's an issue that, thank you for that. If there's an issue, just let her know so that I can correct it on this end. Okay. So the name of it's Running Around in Circles, Life Gone to the Show Dogs, not just a life gone to the dogs, but to the show dogs. And I am Holly Mitchell Cook, class of 78. All right, so new beginnings. What you're seeing here on top, this guy is our first show dog. His name was Pierce, named after Pierce Brosnan, because, well, Pierce Brosnan was hot, right? So Pierce Brosnan. And this is my daughter, Jackie, who's actually on, and my daughter, Carly. And I believe that they're holding a couple of Pam's puppies. I think this is one of Pam's litters, maybe, or it's one of our early ones. But this is how old my kids were when we started. They were little. So why? The why is 1998. I had a new partner. I had a new house. I had a blended family. I went from 2 kids, I was single mom, 2 kids, to a partner with 3 kids. So we had 5 kids. and he wanted to get a dog. Let's get a dog. Okay, let's get a boxer. And let's get a show dog. Oh, so easy. What could go wrong? I remember going to the breeder, that kids went with me. I was scared to death of boxers. I had never had a dog. I had never been to a dog show. He was interested in this litter because the father went back to, in the line, back to a dog that he once had. So he wanted to get back into boxers again. And I'm like, okay, all right, fine. Well, it went from visiting to get a dog, coming home with two, and then it just went on from there. So here's some advice. This is a picture of Debbie Struff, who is a boxer handler and breeder, and she is my mentor. Now, Pierce was supposed to be a show dog, but he wasn't. Not really. We got taken, but I don't believe that it was bad, because it led us into this world and led us to Debbie. Pierce was a great dog. He was a wonderful dog, very confident. He had a beautiful face. You saw his face. He has a beautiful head, beautiful face. But there were things that we did that if I'd had a mentor when I started, I would have done differently. And one of the things is, when you get a mentor, listen to the mentor. They can give you a ton of advice, but if you don't listen, you're just going to keep running around in circles the wrong way. And when I say running around in circles, that's what we do at a dog show, is run around in circles, but those circles have a purpose. So this is Debbie, Debbie Struff. Now, this is not her then. And she is holding Allie, which is one of my puppies, from my litter, in 2022. Okay, so here's the beginning of creating a line, creating Mitch Boxers. Mitch Boxers is, short for Mitchell. And it's really named after my father, whose nickname was Mitch. My father was a fireman. And when he'd come to Wells for Father's Weekend, he'd come in his cashmere long coat and take everybody out to the Fargo. So I don't know if there's anyone on who remembers him, but he enjoyed Father's Weekend a lot. Anyway, the beginning of Mitch Boxers, Pierce led me to Debbie, and here's Debbie 20 years ago. And this is Ava. This is Ava. She was truly our first show dog and our foundation. She's here. This is her finishing picture. This is the day she got her championship. This is a face picture, so you can see my beautiful girl. And this is my daughter, Jackie, giving her dog, Ava, a kiss, waiting to go into the ring to do junior handling. So Ava did not come to us as a puppy. Ava came to us at 18 months old. Debbie owned her, had bred her, and needed a home for her. And I don't know why. I mean, she had handled Pierce for us, and for some reason, she trusted us with this beautiful dog. Everything that I learned about dog shows and showing dogs really came from Debbie and from Ava. One of the things about Ava is, when you're learning about these things, you don't know what you don't know, but so my mentor's advice, no, actually it was written in the contract to not touch the dog. Don't touch the dog. Well, I could feed her and I could play with her and I could take her to the vet, but I couldn't work with her. I couldn't train her because Debbie didn't want me to mess her up. So that's our first show dog. And then the next one was her brother from a different mother, Vegas. So here, this little guy right here, this is Vegas when he came to us. It's him as a puppy. A sweet boy. Here's Vegas at 5. This is Vegas getting best of breed in 2003. So by 2003, I was allowed to touch the dog. So we started in 99. By 2003, I was confident enough and people were confident enough with me that I could actually go in the ring with the dog. And this is Vegas at 12. This was a couple months before he passed away. But he lived a long, good life. And he probably was the best structured dog we had and the sweetest temperamented dog. He was a wonderful family dog. And then from them, and I have this written down here, from them, we have Gia. This is Gia as a puppy. Well, she's probably about a year old there. Look, no gray, no gray, no gray. Here is Gia and me in the ring. Gia, when she went to the Boxer National Club in 2005, she was born in 2004. She won her class. So we'll talk a little bit about what goes into these dog shows, but the dogs are divided first by dogs. Dogs are males, and then by bitches. They are females. The reason why the females are, it is a term. I hope I'm not insulting anyone. I know that when the kids were little, I got a phone call once because my daughter Jackie mentioned something about her bitch in like 4th grade, my bitch. And she was talking about Ava, and I got a phone call and I said, well, she's talking about a female dog. And they were like, well, it's not appropriate in school. And I'm like, okay. So we'll leave the scientific terms at home. Anyway, here's G. And I highlighted her pedigree for you. So her father was Champion Racklin's high roller, who you saw on the previous slide, Vegas. And her mother was Mitch's Jackie O, Maxine. Maxine's father was a dog named Champion B Mike's One Night Stand. And her mother, not Gia's mother, but Maxine's mother, was Champion Standing O, Ava Gardner at Racklin. What you're looking at is a line breed. I don't know if you've heard people talk about line breeding. Line breeding is not inbreeding. Line breeding is taking several generations back. It would be inbreeding if Maxine was bred to her brother, but she wasn't. She was bred to a dog whose father lines up with the grandfather, which is scientifically pedigree studying the most favored type of line breed. This was, I have to say, this was my first planned with a mentor breeding, and I got G. She was my pick. I kept Gia. And here's Gia with her puppies. Gia had 2 litters. Gia never finished her championship. Gia did, she would go in the ring and do it for me, but she did not want it. A show dog has to ask for it, and she would do things for me, but it wasn't like she wanted to do it. So she never got her championship, and I didn't make her continue doing something she didn't really want to do. She did not produce any champions, but she produced some wonderful family dogs. But she did not produce any champions. So for about 10 years, we got into the breeding and the showing and puppies and puppies and puppies. 5 kids, my 2, his 3, puppies, show dogs. So what are you gonna do? I bought them an RV because you got to get to the dog show somehow. And I don't know, that time, that picture right there is how I got the RV cleaned every year. Is I used to chaperone the proms, the kids' proms. I would drive them to the prom in the RV rather than have to pay for, transportation. So they'd come and they'd clean it up, and they'd get to ride in the RV to dinner and to the prom and to the after party. But I just wanted you to see a picture of the Holly bus, as my mother would call this, the Holly bus. This is Jackie, and I believe she's holding Jimmy, which was one of our beautiful dogs. So that's Jimmy as a puppy, and there he is sleeping. He's such a good boy. But it was a wonderful time. Jackie got into junior handling at the shows. That starts now at the age of 5 and goes up to 18. You can take a 5-year-old in the ring and start teaching them how to handle. I think she went in at 10. It used to be 10, but they've dropped the age down. So she was into the junior handling. Ava was her dog. It's best to learn how to do this, how to handle a dog, how to put them in the ring with a dog that already knows how to do it. It's hard to train a puppy and train a person to do this, which is why basically I stunk for a very, very long time, because I was not trained until after Ava finished, and I took a seminar, 2 days to learn how to do it correctly. So anyway, that was about, I would say, 6 years of camping at firemen's fields. A lot of dog shows are at firemen's fields. Kids can't get into trouble. They did a lot of flashlight tag at night, barbecues by the RV, meeting people with dogs. Most families who go to these shows are really friendly. And I think for me, it was a positive experience. If you ask the kids, they might say differently. But I think that they overall have fond memories of this time. I mean, who wouldn't want to camp in an RV like that? Come on, it's great. But when the kids got to be of a certain age, they were getting ready to go to college. This is a very expensive sport. And I'll talk about how much money people spend on this. But I wasn't doing any of it well. I had teenagers. I was teaching full time. I had too many dogs. I felt too many dogs. I couldn't spend the time with them that they needed. I don't think I spent the time with my kids that they needed. And I was still working teaching full time. And I was like, I'm not doing any of it well. So my mentor said to me, there will always be beautiful dogs to buy. So when you're ready, we'll find you another dog. So I put this up. It's on my refrigerator. It's one of the things that throughout my adult life I have looked at. It's let go and go on. There is a trick to the graceful exit. It begins with the vision to recognize when a job, a life, state, a house, a relationship is over and let it go. It means leaving what's over without denying its validity or its past importance to our lives. It involves a sense of future, a belief that every exit line is an entry that we are moving on rather than out. So I decided that I was not going into the ring again. I was not breeding another litter. And that I would age out with my dogs. And so here's some of the old ones that I aged out with. Over here is Vi. She was one of Gia's puppies. And next to her is Jimmy, and he was one of Vegas's puppies. Down here is Vi in her last year, catching a ray of sun in the hallway on her dog bed. And this is Susie. She was one of our early litters, but it was not a dog that we owned. We owned the dog, but the person we bought her from dictated who the sire was going to be. Vi lived to 12 and a half. Jimmy was 10. Susie was 13. So once Susie died, I was down to one dog, and that was Vi. So it's just Vi and me. Vi was living the single dog life for a while. And during that time, 2012, I retired from teaching. And one of my mentors, not Debbie, but another mentor, his name was Steve, and was president of the Genesee Valley Kennel Club, of which I was a member, said, you know what? You would be good at being a show chair. It'll be easy. We'll coach you. We'll be right there with you. Nothing will go wrong. It'll be fine. Well, I can tell you that every year something goes wrong. But this is a picture of me the last day of my first show weekend, underneath a tent with the trophies, just saying, oh, I'm so glad this is over. Yeah. So here's a little humor, a little best in show. This came out in 2000. We actually had a party in our RV at a dog show for people to watch this on DVD, or no, I'm sorry, it was VHS then. And they didn't think it was funny. If you have never seen it, I would suggest you can go on YouTube and see the whole thing. But this is just one part of it. And it's a satire on Westminster. The one clip that we're going to watch is called Judging the Hounds. It's judging the hound dogs. They had trouble filming this movie because they have actual judges judging these dogs, and actual exhibitors, competitors in the ring with these actors. And the actual competitors were upset that they had to take second because their dogs would never take second. So they had a little trouble with the extras, but I just to break it up a little, here's Best in Show. My friends who watched this in my RV, my dog show friends, did not think it was funny. They could not see themselves in this. And I can tell you, if you watch this movie, I can point to a person for every single character that is shown. So, judging the hounds.
Turn your best idea.
She is really giving him a thorough going over. Are all judges that thorough? I mean,
Yes,
she looks
yes.
at the teeth.
It's very important that all the attributes are examined. Teeth, eyes,
Right.
ears,
Ouch!
gums.
Am I seeing right? Where's she putting her hands now?
She's just checking out the dog's testicular area to make sure that that everything is intact.
Hate to go out on a date with Judge Edie Franklin, have her judge me. That'd be no fun.
So please take your dog down and back for me, please.
No, she's having a ball. Why do they have to run away from him and back up? What's the point of that? What are they looking for?
Looking for the gait of movement. It's very important to see the small angles, so Edie will be checking out this in particular.
Good way to judge a woman. Have her run away from you and then run back. Now those birds on Carnaby Street. I'm used to seeing them run away from me more often than run towards me. Now what is that? That's a bloodhound, isn't it?
I think this is a tremendous dog, and I would say maybe in 2 to 3 years this could be a champion dog. But I just think it may be a tad immature for this year.
Just trying to get a little playing time in.
Take your dog down and back for me, please.
You know what would be funny? I don't know if they can do this, just an idea off the top of my head. Why did he put on one of those Sherlock Holmes hats and put a little pipe in his mouth? Are they ever allowed to do anything like that? Dress up a dog in a funny way?
That's not quite what the purpose of these shows
But
is.
it would, I think it could really get the crowd going. You know what I mean? The Sherlock Holmes hat with a pipe. I don't know if you could make it look like smoke's coming out of the pipe.
I think that would be a little dangerous.
I'd get a kick out of it. Now that looks like a fast dog. Is that faster than a greyhound?
Well,
If you put him in a race, who would come in first? If you had a little jockey on him going. Let me ask you this: if you're going to put him on a football team, which would be your wide receiver? Which would be your tight end? Who can go the farthest, the fastest?
well, I don't know any dogs that play football.
I'm having some fun with you here.
Okay, excuse me 1 second. So, is this gonna let me go by? Nope. Okay. I thought you get a little sense of what's going on with the dog show there. That's a mock of Westminster. The purpose of a dog show of confirmation of the running around in circles is to judge breeding stock. So there's certain requirements for a dog to be in a dog show. They have to be a purebred dog. They should match as close as possible the standard listed or written in AKC about that dog. They have to be intact, because what you're judging is if that dog should be considered for breeding. That is what is happening in confirmation. So what you're looking at are dogs that people would use to breed. The earliest that, let's see, the earliest that a dog can go in a ring for points is at 6 months. So I just put together a little word cloud about some of the things that you find at a dog show. Um, uh, and all of the things that I have to, as a show chair, make sure that we have accommodations for. The rings, well, the money is the big thing. I took this from akc.org, just to let you know that it's not just about the pretty dogs. AKC dog shows bring in a lot of money to a community. Anywhere from $384,000 for an event up to $1.5 million per event. My show is small. What you see on the background, that's my show. If you look at the background behind everything, that's an aerial view of my show that I run. It looks so neat and tidy. But it has the rings and it has the RVs and it has concessions. So generally, and this has not changed much for me. The average exhibitor spends about $512 per show weekend. So you're going out, you're expecting to spend $512 for a weekend. If it's a 4-day show, it's more. Depending on the size of the show, I said you could bring in more than $1.5 million into a local community. AKC sanctions and licenses more than 4,000 dog shows and more than 22,000 total events each year. It's not just conformation that you see at a dog show. You can see obedience, rally, agility. Some shows have dock diving, which is fun to watch. I don't think my dogs will do it, but we're gonna try. There's Fast Cat. There's all these different events that go on during the year for people to do with their dogs. It brings in a lot of money for the community. Some of the things that we as show chairs have to pay for is a facility rental or the grounds. I rent a fireman's field. Chairs, equipment, tables, tents, EMTs, veterinarians, and then you have to pay for the lodging and meals for your judges. You have to pay a fee for your judges, each judge, transportation. There's a whole bunch of different things that go into planning one of these things. I am actually right now starting to plan 2026. My show is Labor Day weekend of 2025. I am almost done with planning this show. I have hired my judges. Next week, I will confirm with the tent people. I will confirm with the golf cart people. I will confirm with the porta potty people. In February, I lock it all up. And the hotel, negotiate a rate for a hotel for our judges. I learned all of this from scratch in 2013. I had a mentor. They walked me through it. But they say, you have to expect that something is going to go wrong every year. It's like if you plan a wedding, something's going to happen. Nothing's going to be perfect. Here's a couple pictures of some of our shows. We moved in 2016 to a refurbished Dome Arena. It was beautiful to be inside, to be in air conditioning in June. And you can see the lights above. It was a really cool place to be. It was very expensive, very expensive. you can see the actual from above. I stood up into the bleachers and took a picture of what the rings look like. Down here is Best in Show competition. This was the winner. His name is Daniel of Best in Show that year. Now we're outside again. And what happened to pull us outside again was COVID. We were inside. We were set for a show in 2020 in June. And in March, the world shut down. And dogs, everything shut down. Everything shut down. And this site right here was turned into a vaccination site by the state. So we did not have access to it. And AKC had suspended shows. We weren't allowed to do shows. We were starting to be allowed to do shows in September of 2021. We lost a year and a half. We moved outside. We chased COVID that year. We moved from June to September. And you had to apply for those dates from AKC because you can only be so many miles from another show going on that weekend, so that you're not pulling too many entries from a neighboring show. So we were able to get Labor Day weekend. And we still have Labor Day weekend, and we are not going back indoors. But COVID has changed the sport a lot. When we went back into it, we had to wear masks. We had to stand 6 feet apart from everybody. So we're spreading our arms out like this. Not and not touching each other. And every now and then someone would come out on the loudspeaker. We know you want to hug each other, but you can't. We couldn't come to a venue without proof of vaccination. There were many things that changed because of it. There are things that have not gone back. We're not going back to inside. COVID is still in the community. People come home from these shows, we're used to our dogs getting kennel cough or getting something from another dog, but people are still getting sick. So this club has decided we're not going back inside. I personally enjoy an outdoor show. Dogs like the grass. Imagine that. And I don't know, it's just more of a party to me if it's outside. So then during that time, 2016, I'm circling back, and I only had Vi left because I had aged out with my dogs. And I had the opportunity to start again. So I checked with my mentor. I said, I want to get a dog. And she said, well, I think you should get a girl, a bitch. And I was like, I want a dog, because she knew that, at some point she's going to Holly will breed again. So she should start with a girl. Because if you're a breeder, you want the female. You can shop for a dog. But I wanted a dog. So I got this dog, and I assumed he would be my last dog, and I named him Mitchell. So this is Mitchell. I bought him. His father was the #1 boxer in the country for several years. His father is the top producing boxer in the country. He's been dead for a while. I like to say that Mitchell was a frozen treat, because he was stored frozen semen. A lot of IVF and things that we do with humans now come from the research that's been done with animal reproduction. So, but I bought him because his mother's his mother's, his grandsire on the mother's side was a litter mate to my dog Vegas. And I wanted something that went back to that wonderful dog. So I bought him. Here's a picture of him with his first puppy match. See how tiny he was? He was 3 months old there. So it's his first time in the ring. Here he is. He's about, I want to say, he's probably 3, 4 months there. We're still working on his ears. It was the beginning of football season. And so you can see who we root for. It says Go Bills on his tape. Here's my daughter, Carly, my older daughter, Carly, and he's about a year old there, maybe a little over a year old, getting a hug. He was the most stunning dog. He was beautiful. But as he got older, and I'd say it started to kick in around 7 months, which is a fear period for puppies, just so that you know. Between 7 months and 9 months, they're going through a huge growth spurt. They're coming into sexual maturity, and they're growing, they're getting bigger. And they can go through a very serious fear stage. And he did. And he became very reactive, meaning he was at a show, he was at the national show, the National Boxer Show, and he responded well to his handler, Debbie, my mentor, because, well, she knew what she was doing, and he was confident with her, but he was sitting there with her waiting to go in the ring. Her assistant, Karen, had him, and somebody came up to give Karen a hug, and he had this camera over his neck, and it swung forward, and it hit Mitchell in the face, and he freaked out, and chairs went flying, and he went running, and it was catch that dog, and it kind of ruined the day for Mitchell. We all recovered, but he had a hard time with it, and he never was really secure with himself. So we did classes. One thing I found that really helped build his confidence was over in this right-hand corner is me with him with barn hunt. Now, I don't know if anyone has heard of barn hunt. It's a different sport. The dogs are hunting rats, but the rats are safe in PVC tubes with air holes so that they don't get concussions or anything like that. The rats are hidden in hay bales in a barn, and the dogs have to find them. The thing is, you can't touch your dog, and your dog doesn't have a collar, and your dog is in charge. So you have to trust your dog, and you have to learn what your dog's tell is. And he did really well with it. And it helped him build confidence. And he was able to show again as an adult. This was a heartbreak dog for me because he died at 5. He ended up having a ventricular block. He was misdiagnosed, and it took 5 days to figure out what was going on with him. And by the time they figured it out, he was going into organ failure, and I had to say goodbye. But he taught me a lot. He taught me how to be patient. He taught me how to handle again. He taught me how how to work with the dog to help a dog who was afraid to be confident and to be able to walk through the world. I know that some people would have given up, but that's not fair. If you own the dog, you're a steward of that person, of that soul, and you do everything that you can to let them reach a potential. And then 2 years later, Tia was born, and Tia is definitely my best girl. This is her. This is her at like 7 weeks. I bought Tia. I bought Tia. She was bred by my dear friend Donna Schaefer. And I co-own her with Donna. This down here, this is Tia's first class. So I think she was about 12 weeks old. And I recommend anybody getting a dog, anybody getting a puppy, once those dogs have had their first shots, you find a class. AKC has something called Star Puppy. There's different puppy classes. I would actually find somebody that is committed to training, not just go to PetSmart or something, because they aren't. So, and here she is again. Me in the fancy suit, and this is her last year. So then I did it again. We bred her to this handsome man, Bruno. And I showed you Gia's pedigree. That's a genotype, that's a genetic makeup choice. This breeding was a phenotype. I was looking for physical characteristics. I wanted to improve on health and just a little bit wider head. I loved everything else about the dog. Every breed has different health issues. For boxers, we test for heart, something called DM, degenerative myelopathy, thyroid and hips. Tia's DM status was not as good as Bruno's. So I bred to him. Stop. Okay. And I went on too long, folks. So here's the training begins in the whelping box. We had 8. Here they are at 1 week. And it starts in the whelping box. So this is my grandson, who's not supposed to have online exposure, but I couldn't help it. And so socialization starting at 3 weeks is great. And here I am actually stacking one of the puppies, teaching them to stand. She's 4 weeks old. Yeah. Again, I have to escape this, go on to the next one. I had another clip to show you, but at about 7 weeks, we did something called a Volhard's puppy test, where we measure the degree of social attraction to people, willingness to follow a person, their confidence, how dominant or submissive the puppies are. And the degree that they would accept dominance of a person, sight sensitivity, touch sensitivity, all of these things we practiced with them from the time they were a week old. So that when at 7 weeks, because at 49 days, these dogs are going to be who they are. And so, based on the criteria, you can help place a puppy with a family. If you get a dog that's too independent, you don't want to put them with somebody with a family, because they aren't going to pay attention. They're their own person. So based on that, it's who we place them with. They also connect with the community. They were 6 weeks old here. They just had their shots. And we went to the senior center to visit. And this is Allie's first handling class. You can see, just like her mother, we started. It's right after COVID, folks, still wearing a mask. And I did have to put this silly picture in here. This is Allie with her Mackenzie Child sweater. The dog had a Mackenzie Child sweater in the winter. It went with her to her new home. And it comes to having champions. These are them. These are the puppies. It goes to titles, to service. This dog here, Eva, is with my stepdaughter, Allie, who is a staff sergeant in the Marines. And Allie's father was Gia's son, JJ, and she is her service dog because of injuries she sustained in the service. She has 2 more dogs she's training now. Eva actually is retired, but they go into everything, not just being pretty dogs. And so that's it, my friends. I'm ready to take questions. I went a couple minutes over my 45, but I'm happy to take some questions.
And do a video. There you go.
Can I ask you a question, Holly?
Yep.
So I told you I see your Facebook stuff all the time, and I can't remember how long ago it was, maybe more than a couple years or so. You had a thing about what you do with the ears. Can you explain for some of us that aren't too familiar, other than, yes, it's part of the breed, maybe it's part of the show, part of the breed? What is that process you go through with getting their ears to stand up straight?
Dan? Okay, so those ears are cropped. It's a surgery. It's hard to find a good vet to do it now. We took 5 puppies down to Delaware and had it done. They were 9 weeks old, I believe. You can't wait too long. They do it by, the dogs have to be a certain weight, certain age. They had to go through physical first to make sure that the hearts were okay. Because they are put on, you know, they're under anesthesia for a short time. They come home with a cone on their heads, and the ears are glued to that cone. And then about after 2 weeks, that cone comes out. And I actually, the stitches have to come out before that, or the stitches kind of grow in, and then it's a pain. And then they get posted, like once the edges heal, they get posted. People use different things. I use window foam, it's like a tube of foam, and I wrap it with tape so the sticky side is out, and I put it in the ear and pull it, and then wrap around that. It needs to be done. Shouldn't keep them in any more than 5 days. Need to take them out, check to make sure the ear's okay, put them back up. Some dogs stand, and so the cartilage starts to push against that ear, and the ear will stand. Some dogs, it takes longer depending on the weight of the ear leather. My puppy's ears went right up. I was lucky with this litter. I had a good vet too. A good vet is really important. Is it legal to perform in New York? Yes, it is. It is legal to perform anywhere in the United States, actually. There is legislation all the time to stop it. At this point in the United States, breeders do have choices, unlike women, but breeders do have choices. Other countries, no. The original standard called for a crop deer. The dogs were bred in Germany in the late 1800s, early 1900s, to bring down bear or wild boar. So they had their tails docked. They're born with a long tail. And 5 days in, they get their tails docked and their dew claws removed. Dew claws are right here on the wrist. And it's a very simple procedure at 5 days because it's very soft. The tail is very soft at that point. Because they were going through the Bavarian forest to get this wild boar, they had a cropped ear, but it was very short, like you see on a pit bull now. What you're seeing on my dogs is a show crop. It's taller, but it was very short because you didn't want the beast to grab onto that ear and tear. So a natural ear could get torn. The tail is long and thin and could get caught in the brush. So they dock the tail. We still dock the tails in the United States. We have a choice on having a natural ear dog or a cropped ear. My people who buy pets from me, that shot of those puppies, they're all show puppies. And every single person who had one of those dogs had had a dog who'd had their ears done before. So they were confident in how to take care of those ears. If people are not sure about that, and they don't live near me for me to do it, I don't recommend it. I don't recommend it because too much can go wrong with it because it is an operation. Others?
Do you think, Holly, that if someone chooses to not crop the ears, how does that sit with judges? Do they have their prejudice one way or the other?
I would say 10 years ago, yes. But I'm seeing a change. I'm seeing more and more natural eared dogs in the ring.
Mhm.
I mean, it is a misnomer that, I mean, it's those natural eared dogs get taped as well. But it looks like they have a toothache. They'll take tape and kind of go around the head to kind of get the ear to lay flat while they're puppies, because otherwise, I have a couple that they look like the flying nun. They literally just kind of go up and go out. And who doesn't love that? But yeah, more and more, if the structure of the head is correct, more and more judges are used to seeing that now. And I've seen more and more be able to compete well in the ring. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's good.
Our first dog was a dog named boxer named Willard, and I thought they came that way with a short tail. I never saw that kind of tail on a boxer until a couple of years ago in Delaware Park. Anyway,
Yeah. Yeah. There's
about I don't know 6 to 8 inches maybe.
yeah, and it goes and it curves up.
Yeah,
It curves up. Now,
yeah.
if you've ever seen a boxer, their butts don't stop moving.
Mm.
They just move, like their whole body will move. And I can tell you, if you got hit with that tail, it would hurt.
Ooh.
And I it would hurt and it would break. And I know dogs that have had that happen and then have to have the tail amputated as an adult.
Yeah.
And it's painful. I mean, that is more painful. But if the puppies are not,
But I haven't seen the dogs with the boxer without pointed ears. I
you
mean,
have not seen a natural eared dog?
no, I think the one with the tail, it looked kind of like boxer from the from the head,
Hmm.
but the tail looked different. I mean, that's how I know it's a boxer. I'm not that great at dog identification. Anyway,
Well, the boxer head is very specific. It's what they call square on square. The muzzle should be square, the head should be square, the body should be square, should not be long. It's a square body. And people who are not aware of that will think that it's a pit bull or it's an Amstaff or it's something else. But they have a very distinctive standard. I would say,
but what kind of ears you're talking about? Like Cocker Spaniel ears or something amazing? What, like flying nun ears?
well, they stand out. It's like, because I think the cartilage does start to go up, but then the ear goes
I
out.
hear better that way, but anyway.
They're kind of crazy. They can be, or they can be beautiful. Or
Okay.
they can be beautiful.
Yeah, we had a pit mix that one went this way, and
Yeah,
one went that way.
yeah. And if it's your pet and you love your pet, does it matter? No, it
Yeah.
doesn't.
Holly, one question. I've noticed this in a lot of other, different types of groups outside of show dogs, just like dance clubs or bridge clubs or whatever. Young people are not going into some of those things, and it seems like a shame because if young people don't get involved, whatever the hobby or the sport or whatever will die.
Mhm.
What are you seeing with show dogs? Are young people interested? How's that
I
going?
I was very happy watching Westminster the last couple days to see the number of young people in the ring.
Hmm.
We need young people.
Yeah.
Our club, the Genesee Valley Kennel Club, and the Tonawanda Valley Kennel Club, we host the show. There's two shows, two clubs that host a show. We do a special event on Sunday called the Best of the Best Junior Handler. So there's 4 junior handler competitions throughout the weekend because there's 4 different shows over 3 days. And then on Sunday, during the lunch hour, we do a special presentation. We do a competition of all the first place ones. And then the best of the best gets, an amazing rosette that is as big as the child. And, a chair that's embroidered with best of the best 2024 and their name. That they can take to the dog shows and
Cool.
sit and show it off. Yeah, I would say that one of the best things to get involved with your grandchildren or your children, is 4-H. 4-H. If you can find a 4-H club, because they teach all different types of things with their dog, how to care for their dog, how to do obedience, how to do confirmation, all sorts of things. My kids did 4-H, and I think that it was invaluable for them.
Now, does 4-H ever do anything that adults could, who missed out on 4-H entirely as kids could
I think you could ask.
Hmm.
I don't think they'd turn you away.
Yeah, I think it's a great program. I just
I don't think they'd turn you away.
Uh.
I know that I enjoyed going with my daughter.
uh-huh.
I
Well,
learned a lot.
I
Just
didn't have any kids to, shepherd around, but there you go. Thank you.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Holly, you see a little love note from
Yes, I saw
Marianne?
Mary Ann. Love you, MA.
Yeah, and Renee had jumped off and also said thank you. Anybody else have some other questions that they'd like to ask Holly?
I could have gone on for another hour.
I know you
just saying.
could. I know you
I'm just
could.
saying.
Yeah. If you, yeah, I'll echo Holly, and then if you have the chance to ever go to a local dog show, it is so much fun. It really is, especially if you
Oh,
get a
no.
chance to wander away from the ring back toward the area where the dogs are being prepped, and just to watch them all, get fluffed and puffed, and some of them that are just kind of like bored and waiting. Some of them that are thinking, oh, let's party while we're here. And you get to really learn their personalities. It's a lot of fun.
I would say that if you're looking for a dog, and if you're looking for a dog, to go to a local dog show, you can find where there's local dog shows in the United States by going to akc.org and just type in the search bar events, and they'll take you to the event calendar. And you can find shows all over the country, and all over the world, actually. I would find out what time your breed that you think you're interested in is on. Just go sit and watch. You're going to see breeders there. And that's what you want to do, is you want to connect with a breeder that does what I do, that tests for any congenital diseases, genetic diseases that breed has. Like, I chose that dog for Tia because of the way he looked, and because he had better health testing than she did for DM, which is degeneration of the spine. Tia's at risk for that. So she could lose movement in her rear. But that's an old dog disease. And, I just pray that she gets old enough to get it. It's like Vi had that, but she was 12. So, the lifespan for a boxer is 10. So if we get to double digits, we're like, yay. But that they do that they work on that I did something called puppy culture, where we started day 7 with touch sensitivity. We turn the puppy upside down for 5 seconds to have the blood rush to the brain, and then turn them up, and then cradle, elevated, turning them over. Because at 3 weeks, from 3 to 6 weeks is when you have this huge brain neurological development. And you can form what that dog's temperament is going to be in the whelping box.
When is the Tonawanda show?
Tonawanda is with my show.
Yeah,
It's in Hamlin, New York.
yeah. Okay, I'll figure that part out, but when is it?
Labor Day weekend. So it's the Friday of Labor Day weekend, Saturday and Sunday.
Uh-huh.
Where do you live?
I live in Buffalo,
Oh my.
but Buffalo area, New York.
So there's one in Hamburg. Usually Columbus Day weekend.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's one in Dunkirk, the first weekend in June. You could tell those are the ones I go to
Uh-huh.
because they're within my 5-hour driving. It's dog show driving.
Ah. What? I'm sorry, why 5 hours? Just
That's what I can handle.
okay. Maybe it was dog specific or something. Okay.
No, it's what I can handle.
Sounds good.
Anybody else? Anybody else before we say goodnight?
This was so interesting. Thank you so much, Holly
Oh,
and
You're
Fran.
welcome.
It
You're
is.
Great.
welcome. I would say go to akc.org if you're interested in a specific breed. Go to akc.org, look up the breed, the standard, what the health issues might be. I would Google the breed use your Google machine and look for the parent club, because every single breed has a parent club and every parent has health protocols for those dogs, and find out, and you want a breeder that does that. You want a breeder that does that. In my contract, they do not get to sell their dog. If they are unhappy with their dog, guess where that dog comes? That dog comes home. And I work on it. All of my puppies get microchipped. And I ask that they please put my name in the contact list too, in case the dog gets loose. So that if it's scanned, it can be found, it can be reunited. So you want a breeder that does that. Responsible breeders are not the problem.
Thanks, everybody. We will try for March 12th, 4 weeks from tonight, for our next presentation. I'm still working out some of the little details, but I'm hoping we'll have something to go with Women's History Month. And then,
cool.
again, we'll meet the second weekend the second Wednesday in April. Colin Evans is going to present some of his research work on climate change
Ooh.
to keep us celebrating for Earth Day. And I'm still looking for somebody for May, if anybody is just like really excited about something they want to tell us. So,
Well, thanks for asking me, Fran. I never would do this
well,
if you hadn't reached out. It's not something that I would. I have not considered myself an expert. I'm just a humble participant.
well, you know what they say it
Really
well, to
interesting.
have and to share. You had something and you shared it.
Mhm.
Okay.
And I really appreciate you doing that. Alexis, do you have anything to say from WCA before we go?
Just really appreciate Holly's presentation, and really glad to have the opportunity for everybody to gather here, and keep an eye out for our next
Yes.
event in March. And thanks Fran and Randy for doing all the work as far as getting participants and gathering all the info and all of that. Thank you so much.
And keeping us going.
Yes, we've got to keep going. This would be our annual I Heart Wells Week.
Mm-hmm.
And today is a Wells Wednesday, so enjoy.
If I can make
Right.
that.
We are.
Thank you.
All righty, folks. Good night.
Good night.
And-
Bye-bye.